Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Cinebear, Adam Price, Fibre Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, Ben White, Maximum Gravy, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Muted, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Ledrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Who gave you that title?
A very cool guy.
I went through and sorry?
You better answer him, he'll give you the cold shoulder.
That man was on point with that. Where'd you come from?
Go on, Nathan.
Oh, the cold shoulder. I caught that late. I'm a little slow today.
Chill out. So to change the topic.
No, I'm just wondering.
How do you...
Go ahead.
How do you, Nathan? How do you integrate Discord and Google Meet so that people from everywhere can listen to you at the same time?
Through an application called Voice Meter Banana.
All right, there is a way. Okay, I'll get to know that later then.
Oh, it's not just a case of getting Voice Meter. You have to get these things called virtual audio cables that allow you to separate out various different software so that they're coming into a desk on an individual line, and then you can do it like you would on any analog desk, I suppose. But you have to physically split the signals with these things called virtual audio cables.
That's complicated. It's going to take me some time to do that.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not an easy process. I'm still trying to figure out how to get it sounding good. It's only in the last month, maybe, I've got it to the point where I'm like, every time I listen to the show, I'm like, yeah, it sounds good. Happy with it.
Just on a different note, I picked up on some of the conversation yesterday on the mathematics. The math that's involved with the heliocentric model. It's quite interesting if you just do a quick Google on Wiki for the Copernicus revolution. It clearly tells you there that the switch from the geocentric to the heliocentric was done in two phases, it says. And the first phase was, I can't remember the exact word, but it was dramatically or mathematical, the first phase. So it was all done with maths in the first phase. And then the second phase was the book, The Revolution of the Spheres, or whatever it was, by Copernicus. So it tells you in black and white. It's mathematical to start with.
They still are telling you that. It only exists in the math.
Yeah, they got no choice, have they, really?
But I mean, look, if we saw curvature, we wouldn't be having the show. Then it would actually exist. So it only exists in the math. So it's a thought experiment. It's not real.
Isn't it modus ponens? If sphere Earth, then Earth curve. And for it to be a logical consistency argument, you'd have to have a geometric horizon. But we don't. So it becomes a formal logical fallacy, where they take what's on screen, which is a mathematical reification of a physical geometric spheroid horizon, and tell you that is your actual horizon. And it isn't. So you don't have Earth curve, and if we had any shape doesn't have to necessarily be a sphere, but any shape to the surface as opposed to a plane, which is an aspect, then you'd have a geometric horizon, and we don't.
And like you say, that straight tangent line they put on, it should be a curved tangent line, shouldn't it, really?
Yeah, notwithstanding the fact that when they've lied about the physical geometric sphere edge horizon being this marked with an X labelled horizon in the maths horizon, their line to it is straight in this maths and must be for it to be geometric and be measured in the first instance. But in reality, this line to the horizon, run my mouse over it, oh, it's gone, is bent, according to them. But they're getting around the fact that their whole model's been derived from a flat plane in the first instance. It's only in recent days that we've been starting to point that out to them. So it makes the whole thing a bit of a joke, really. The claim of the globe Earth.
Just on the other side of that, Bunk and Debunk proved that the kitchen that they live in can't be flat.
Say that again. Say that again.
The little unicorn, it proved that my kitchen can't be flat. The same way that the other guys are trying to say, do these calculations. So I did those calculations on my kitchen, and it can't be flat, according to their logic.
Okay, I get you now. So you're saying the calculations you took off the flat surface and the maths used with that flat surface measurement proves, after you've made it spherical, that the ground you took the measurements from isn't flat.
No, it just proves that I used an arc length measurement and conflated it with shape, and then assumed that the floor was that shape. That's all I did.
I see. Very droll.
Yeah, that's all they're doing when they measure the stars. They're confusing perspective with the arc length of their degrees.
But it does kind of make a mockery of people like National Geographic out like in this image with the binoculars looking for the Earth curve.
Just a quick question, Nathan, totally off the... On the... in Discord, I can never see any screens. I don't know if I'm supposed to be able to.
No.
I have to flirt between YouTube and this, but then it causes bloody vocal and noise effects.
Yeah, you just mute the stream.
Right, just flick through them like that. Right, okay.
No, you don't get any of the images because it's too much work for me to share it with you guys in Discord. Likewise, if you share, it works both ways. So if you share something with me in Discord, I don't get to see it. I mean, it's a limitation I have placed on myself, but it's a limitation based on screen real estate more than anything else. I haven't got space to share and be shared with from Discord. I've got space to watch you and talk to you, and as that's what the show is, that's really all I care about. Also,
is the space in a vacuum, or is it being filled with gas particles?
Hold on. Citation, please. Causing a bit of background noise. Hello, Citation, please. Hello. Oh, he's muted instead. Okay. Sorry, you were talking about outer space. Say again.
No, I was just joking. You said you had lots of space. I'm just wondering if it was in a vacuum of space or it was partially filled with...
lack of space. Lack of screen real estate. Yeah, I got your joke before you repeat it. So, no, I've got a lack of screen real estate. So, in order to monitor everything all at once, I can't have Discord up on, because I don't have space to put it. I'd have to have it with something else covering it and then flick between things that I need to be monitoring all the time in my scan, as I scan across the two monitors constantly looking at various different things. Well, I just don't want to focus on it. The other thing is it takes away the opportunity from the fundies who do come here to try and tie us up with references. So they'll send you something and go, there you go, that proves it. And they'll send you an entire website full of stuff. And you're like, where is it? Well, go and get it. And they'll suddenly charge you with looking for their citation that they haven't provided. And you just end up wasting time. It's like, no, if you've got something that backs your argument, that's all it does. It backs your argument. It doesn't make your argument. You have to do that. Now, often when people do make the argument and have citation to go with it, it'll get posted in Discord, and at some stage there'll be someone in there that is in my Skype, one of the Skype groups I use for the show, and they'll send it to me, and it'll get put up on screen eventually if it's worthy. But it's not just the case that somebody's going to come on Discord and go, there you go, I posted it, go look at it. Well, no, I can't, and I don't, and I won't. But if it gets vetted, which is essentially what's happening in that process, it gets vetted by one of my panel members. And I trust all of them. So when they stick it in Discord, when they stick it in Skype, I'll immediately present it, because I know they've vetted it.
Fair comment, yep.
I need to get Citation Police into the G Plus Hangout.
I mentioned that the other day after your show was over.
Somebody needs to add him if he's got Skype. I don't know when he comes back off mute. Just get him into Master B somehow. Add him if he's got Skype. If he hasn't, then he can't. We'll find out in the after show or sometime that it's not being recorded, so he doesn't have to give us email addresses that are going to get aired.
I still don't know how I got in.
Why? Do you not feel worthy as Citation Police?
Nothing to do with that at all. I just don't know how I figured it out.
Just because you're likable, Neil. Just people like you, generally speaking. You divide comments.
No, I'm talking about how I got in, how I was able to, figure out to go to G+, because I don't know how to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, well, when you're a likable person, people will go out of your way to make those sorts of things happen for you. Would you not agree?
Oh, so I didn't get in through craftiness?
No, absolutely not. There's nobody who can join G+ that's not deserving of being here.
Oh, yeah, with the link, but I still didn't know how to get in with that link. It took me a while.
But you're justifying why you're here with these questions. This is why people like you, Neil.
Shut up, Nathan. I understand. I understand you sent me the link. I'm just saying. I still couldn't figure it out.
I can totally understand Neil, because I also had the same situation, and if not for Flat Earth, I wouldn't be here on Meet or Discord or on YouTube, any other place. So yes, I can totally understand, and I have learned a lot of these things from Nathan, people like Nathan. So I talked to you, Nathan, some 3 years ago. When I became a Flat Earther, I was just looking into the matter some 4 years ago, and then I talked to you once, but I don't know how I figured it out. That is the situation what Neil is talking about, where I was 3 years ago. I somehow figured it out that I have to talk to this person, Nathan.
Fate.
I think it is, as an outsider, looking in and having listened to the show now. I think, it's like a one big happy flat family on the panel. You get to know everyone's personality, and you can see all the strengths and everything like that. So it's really good. I think it's really fantastic.
Please don't say community.
No, it means in an isolated this now, Google Plus. If you will.
you guys
okay,
on the panel.
fine.
I'm on about.
Yeah, I agree. Got a nice bunch of people. But it's a tiny little corner of the internet. Sometimes people come along and go, wow, you've got so many subscribers. It's like, no, I haven't. This is a tiny little corner of the internet, and even if you added up every single Flat Earther and all their subscribers all combined, you still probably wouldn't get close to some of the smaller, marginally known YouTubers. You know what I mean? It's a tiny corner.
Nathan, I'm going to reboot. I'm trying to send something, but it's not working, so I'll be back.
Okie dokie.
I've been thinking about the same thing, Nathan. Exactly the same thing. That we are such a small group, but the coolest one on the small corner of the internet. There's nothing cooler than Flat Earth. and related discussions.
Oh, wow. You've just expanded it out to include everybody, though. So I don't agree with that. As a generalized group, no, it's a bunch of misfits.
So bringing it back to flat Earth before your show starts in 15 minutes. So I had this question about the gas pressure, the same old gas go down, go boom, boom. And that's because I know flat earthers here in India, and even on the Flat Earth Discord 2.0, I went and talked to a few flat earthers, and many of them were of the opinion that when you measure the pressure in any container from the top as compared to the bottom, there is going to be a difference in the pressure. So basically, if in a vacuum chamber, the same thing, you let in some amount of helium, there is going to be a gradient of helium. What you call a puddle of helium, they do not say a puddle, but they are of the opinion that there is going to be a gradient of helium based on the potential difference or whatever reason they ascribe to it.
Right. I mean, you can observe a process. So if you had an ultra high speed camera and you introduced the gas from the bottom of the chamber, as it dispersed, right, you're going to have more, for a very short period of time, helium at the bottom than at the top till it reaches equilibrium, because that's what it's trying to do, right? It's trying to seek an even distribution throughout the container. But because we have dynamic systems around us, people assume that the behaviour of gas is going to be the same when it's still going through that process in the most simplistic terms as it diffuses. So if you have, I don't know, some massive pocket of CO2 under the ground suddenly released, well, yeah, if you encounter that as it's being released and going through that entropic process of distributing itself throughout the rest of the gases that are already there, there's going to be a high concentration of CO2 in that area. But over time, it's going to diffuse. That's the process. And the diffusion in its most simplistic state would be introducing a gas into a vacuum chamber and watching it evenly fill the containment. So they think, yeah, gas goes down, go boom, boom. But it doesn't. It's just crazy.
So there was this video by John the Morgile, which Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app YouTube channel uploaded. Basically, David Weiss uploaded 4 days ago. And it was half an hour video. It was titled Gas Go Down, Boom, Boom, Go, Go, Boom, Boom. But then John the Morgile was talking about not being sure of the ideal gas laws. Because once again, these laws and the model of an atom and whatever they tell us is not actually scientific. And this is also based on consensus. So when you refer to the ideal gas laws being responsible for the same pressure from top to bottom without being a gradient, you are also depending on something which you can't be sure about. So what can you say to that?
Well, no, I can be sure about it. I can demonstrate it repeatedly really easily. In fact, it's very difficult to not demonstrate it. What we actually ask for, which would be an address, if it had one, from the Morgile, how do you have gas pressure without containment? Gas pressure at all. I mean, this focus on whether or not we've got gradiated gas pressure, it's just a delta of the question in the first instance. The question being, how can we have gas pressure at all, gradiated or otherwise, without containment? And the answer is you can't. Now, in terms of gas reaching equilibrium in containment, that is really easy to demonstrate. In fact, it's quite hard to force it into a gradiated state in a small situation with a small container. That's really hard to achieve. Now, I've seen it achieved. Zachary, how do you say his surname? Sabaya or something. I've forgotten how to say his surname to give him. Sabala. Zachary Sabala did a demonstration with exactly that. A small container that he heated at one end and cooled the other to achieve a gradiated pressure. But he had to go some to do it. And all it wanted to do the whole time it was doing it was equalise. He's having to force it to do it in very strange settings. Heat at one end, cool at the other.
I've seen that video.
Right, so it's difficult. So if Morgile's saying, well, no, you're just believing in a model. No, it's not claimed, number one, to be scientific. Nobody's claiming that these descriptions are achieved in science. If they were, they wouldn't be called laws anymore.
I've done it sometimes when I'm gassing a fridge system up with a bottle of gas, and then the pressure's equalised, and I have to put hot rags around the refrigerant bottle to force it out, to higher the pressure of the bottle, to get the pressure of the bottle higher than the system, so it travels to the lower pressure.
Exactly. You've got to go some to achieve it. Do anything other than reach equilibrium, because that's all it wants to do. It just wants to. The gas itself, it just wants to travel in whatever direction it's travelling in. All of it does that. Given enough time, it'll all be bouncing pretty much equally around in whatever containment it's got. Some of it's not going to go, you know what, I'm going to go close to the ground. It just travels in whatever direction, hits something, and then bounces back in the opposite direction. And it just keeps doing that. Doesn't matter, up, down, left, right, doesn't make any difference.
I got those slides up in Master B.
Okay, moving heaven and earth.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, Anna.
Arthur, nice to see you, mate.
Hey, Adam Megan, sir.
How you doing, bro? Today a gas chat. I had to mute as soon as I logged in, but
Okay, John Henry. I've got the cover page up.
Yes. Yeah. Let's go to the first one, chapter 1. Do you see it?
Yep.
You have to be crazy to say the earth moves. Science or insanity. Death and taxes are often said to be the only certainties. But there's something else. The earth certainly doesn't seem to be moving. No matter what the scientists tell us about the way the earth rotates on its axis. So that someone standing at the equator is moving around the center of the earth at a speed of over 1,000 miles per hour, it all seems perfectly still. We all believe what we are told about the earth's revolutions around the sun, covering a distance of about 584 million miles in a year, which is another 66,000 miles per hour or more. But we are taking it on trust. We can't feel ourselves moving. Next page. Those of us who have read a little further or who have watched more programs on Discovery Channel or who once bumped into a friendly astronomer might also have learned that we, together with the sun, are circling around the center of our galaxy and at even more unimaginable speed, roughly 350,000 miles per hour. And that the galaxy itself is whistling through space on a trajectory resulting ultimately from the Big Bang that created our universe. See the glossary section at the end of the book. But we cannot feel any of this. It's not just a question of how it feels either. If our senses don't tell us the earth is moving, it is also true that for technical purposes, it actually makes sense to assume the earth is stationary. You look in a textbook on navigation, for example, you'll see it assumes that the earth is stationary and that all the heavenly bodies are revolving around the earth. The authors of such manuals probably know better than you or me that earth is perpetually performing a series of complex motions, but, next page, they also know that you don't need to know this to steer your boat by the stars. On the contrary, it makes things simpler if you assume the earth is still and only the stars and your boat are moving. Therefore, it is wrong to assume that technical demands must inevitably lead us to a belief in the motion of the earth. They don't. So how on earth did we ever come to believe in the motion of the earth? If our senses and our common sense tell us that the earth is fast, not fast, but steadfast, and if it is a requirement of a practically useful technical art like navigation that the earth be considered stationary, why and how did we ever come to believe that the earth is whizzing through space with such phenomenal speeds? If we just set aside for a minute what we have taken on trust since we were school children, the idea that the earth is moving just seems totally crazy. It can't really be moving, can it? Next page. Yes, it can. And what's more, we now all believe that anyone who denies the motion of the earth must be a crank or a fool. So how has it come about? It is now crazy to deny what actually seems to be crazy, to be a crazy idea? The short answer is that we all now recognize the intellectual power and authority of science, even if we don't know much about the details. We know that a moving Earth is bound up with the latest astronomical cosmological ideas, which in turn are bound up with well-established theories of modern mathematical physics. We also have a strong sense, even if we can't follow the technical demonstrations, that this same edifice of mathematical physics has led to most, if not all, of the high technology that is now such an indispensable part of our lives. It is a part of our scientific worldview that the laws of nature are so all persuasive and so interconnected with one another that to reject the claim that the Earth moves would somehow have to entail not only, get ready, a denial that we ever landed men on the moon, but also that television sets work. But of course, there hasn't always been this kind of faith in the power of pervasiveness of scientific knowledge. Like everything else, our modern worldview has its history and its historical origins. If it is possible at all to pinpoint a single initial source from which the modern physical sciences developed and spread out, explaining more and more aspects of our world as they did so, and leading to more and more technical innovations. Last slide. The most likely contender for the starting point would be claimed by Nicholas Copernicus, that the Earth is in motion. One of the main aims of this book is to explain how it was that a highly technical astronomical theory, far beyond the mathematical competence and understanding of all but a very few people, came to have such far-reaching repercussions. Along the way, we will come to see why it was Copernicus's claim, first published Middle Ages, 16th century, that was to have its seismic impact, rather than one of the various earlier suggestions that the Earth might be in motion. Whew, that was a mouthful.
Epic. I mean, great passage, and I put the title of the book back up so people can see where you've got that from. Other than a slight critique of their use of the word science, because what they're actually describing is pseudoscience. So when they say how we've been persuaded by science, what they actually mean is by people claiming science that never had any in the first place. And that makes what he calls science in that text pseudoscience. I just don't want his excellent description of how we've been hoodwinked into believing we're spinning and his use of the word science actually means we should throw science under the bus. We shouldn't.
Do you like the way he ties it into television sets and technology?
Yeah, I like that, but especially now that might have gone over some people's heads, because what he's saying is that if we deny this premise that we know to not be true, then suddenly we're met with the idea that television doesn't work. In other words, well, we wouldn't have computers, like we get told. That's what he's saying.
I knew you'd like it.
The bit with the science reminded me of the conversation we were having yesterday. Look, don't you worry your pretty little head about it. Know that much cleverer people than you have sorted it. So it definitely is spinning.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by the Adam Meakin, Neil, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature. Did I miss anybody? No? And a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Well, pre-show 10th was just covering how we don't experience it, and certainly we don't calculate for it. It's simpler to just pretend that we're stationary. And imagine, even though we're imagining it exactly as we see it and observe it and experience it, imagine that it's the stars that are moving and not us. So no, all our senses would be the opposite, but we have to ignore our senses because cleverer people, smarter people than us have figured it out.
It was a lot more explicit than that in terms of what it's detailing and how we've been hoodwinked into believing there's Earth curvature. Now, I don't typically plug memberships during a live show, but I'm going to today. Why the hell not? So become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member today, and you will get the benefit of that pre-show, which we're discussing right now, where 10th Man goes through a presentation, which I'll flash up some of the slides. So if you're a cheapskate, you can just pause them. But yeah, you can check that out if you're a member. And because it's the weekend, although again, I don't typically mention what day it is, there's a longer delay for the Uncut and After Show, which often gets very heated, the After Show, that is, if there's been a fundie who doesn't want to join during the live section of the show. So yeah, become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member today, and you'll get to see the Uncut and After Show that we're discussing right now, and all of the other pre and after shows that attach to these live shows as soon as they're uploaded, which is after the live show ends and however long it takes to upload it after the show's finished recording. So hopefully you'll smash that membership button and become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member now. And it's only a couple of bucks, I believe, for the lowest member, and I release everything to all levels of channel memberships. So yeah, the lowest membership will get you all of the things that everyone else gets. There's not a great deal of benefit other than you wanting to support me more by paying me more for becoming a member. So that's enough of my plug. Check it out. It's John Henry, Moving Heaven and Earth, Copernicus and the Solar System.
So yeah, like if the Earth wasn't spinning, we wouldn't have television sets, right?
Yeah, if the Earth wasn't a sphere, we wouldn't have computers.
Science would not work.
Yeah, like in that Don't Look Up movie, when they're essentially detailing, or the Leonardo DiCaprio characters sat in front of a computer reasoning with people who just won't listen to the heliocentric world and how it's going to kill us all. What do these people think? If it wasn't for this mathematics of heliocentrism, we would never have computers. Good timing.
Makes total sense to me. Total sense.
It's a complete non sequitur. Any evidence you can have a curved adjacent when acquiring an elevation angle?
Well, I think the only solution is to not understand it and just think you can.
You know, but you can't. As soon as you come to applying the mathematics, just thinking you can have a curved adjacent won't allow you to perform any trig.
I know.
Well,
That's why not understanding is the only solution.
I see.
well, can we use the flat elevation angles to acquire co-altitude to assert that we're on a sphere?
No, you can derive a radius value and then take that model to infer that you've got a geometric horizon that we debunked last year or the year before with the black swan. But as for just taking the elevation angles, No, because they're flat Earth elevation angles, as you well know. Can somebody boil this down? There's going to be an audience member, and I want to do this regularly. We're basically claiming that the globe Earth requires a flat Earth in order to imply it. To assert that you're on a sphere would first require you measured the Earth as flat.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's something they're stuck with. That's what drives them crazy when they come here.
Yeah. And we've got a descent into the mouth of madness from our anti-flat Earth opponents. Now, the globe believers aren't going to necessarily be on a sharp enough tip to get this, or therefore care. So we're not necessarily saying if you believe in the globe, this is going to send you into madness. More that the people who keep up to date with the flat Earth debate from the anti-flat Earth side, the people who will challenge the very globe rhetoric they're trying to prove is true in defence of our refutations of those globe claims, those are anti-flat earthers. Now, they keep abreast of the argument, and at this particular juncture in the argument, we've got a point where our opponents, anti-flat earthers, have to accept that the Earth is flat in order to make any assertions moving forward in this argument. There is no alternative. The alternative that has actually befell us is lies. Just lie about needing a triangle. Just lie about needing R. Just lie about needing 90.
Nathan, in that excerpt of that book I read, this kind of ties into this. So how on earth did we ever come to believe in the motion of the Earth? If our senses and our common sense tell us that the Earth is not fast, but steadfast, and if it is listen here, a requirement of a practically useful technical art like navigation, that the Earth be considered stationary. So, for navigation, for convenience, for ease, it's better to believe the Earth is motionless and the stars are moving. Interesting that we have to treat it as a geocentric, not a heliocentric.
Yeah, because it makes life very difficult if you assume you're moving and you've got 1,000-mile-an-hour tangential velocity at the edge of a sphere Earth that required a flat Earth to imply in the first instance. It's all a bit nonsensical, really.
Well, if it's geocentric, then you can get elevation angles.
No, geocentric doesn't necessarily mean flat.
No, I'm not saying it from that point of view. Even if they have their globe, it's not moving. It's a ball in their space just sitting there. That doesn't work.
No, but in terms of their angle measurement from the centre of a sphere, that does actually have the heavens moving around a geocentric stationary plane at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, does it not?
Yeah, but that's not happening. It's happening on the surface because the surface is a plane. They transpose it to the center of something that doesn't exist, but if it did, it would have an equatorial plane.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Only Kent Hovind talks about that one. But only because he completely doesn't understand.
Does he go through the story of Thea and its presumed formation? Obviously, given the heliocentric timeline, it should have cooled down already.
No, he doesn't. No, but he is still very Bible-bound, basically in his own improvised way. I think he's like just improvising a lot. Like the Earth is a ball, but he doesn't graft in like the Big Bang or that kind of story for Thea.
Well, hold on. Where does he get it biblically? And on the 8th day, God said, let there be a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of the presupposed spherical Earth. Amen.
Well, he thinks that's just hell, right? It's hell. So it should be there, kind of thing.
He also, Arwen, I know we mentioned it before, but he's a denier of Polonian people as well, Ken. He seems to
Oh, God.
It's true. He reckons it was formed in an instant. It's not the remnants of an ancient civilization.
No in-jokes, please.
Well, no, if you'd listened to the debate, we did discuss polonium people.
You'll have to fill in the audience.
Well, they were actually chronicled, weren't they?
The Chronicles.
Okay, this is a farce. This is a farce.
Okay.
Let's not let it slip too far without explanation so the audience can follow along.
Yeah, well, polonium people, if ever, would have only existed during the times of Adam and Eve, because they don't last very long.
So you have researched it then?
No.
Oh. Okay,
How could they? We invented it off the top of our heads in the spur of the moment when Alwyn presented evidence to say that the polonium had formed over a given period, and we described them as people just for the sake of it. It is actually a representation of not polonium decay, but that there was actually a people made of polonium.
Well, if you say it often enough and long enough, they are people.
Well, technically, I'm reinforcing this completely made-up story in the same way that the example which parallels with it is reinforced just by telling it. That would be that there's a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of presupposed spherical Earth, developed by an impact from a planet called Theia on a trajectory with Earth, hitting it at a glancing blow, the debris forming the moon through gravitational accretion, and the planet Theia depositing its gooey, juicy molten iron core in Earth's molten iron core that would have otherwise been cooled down, but for the fact that we had this impact with Theia. And our moon is obviously the remnants of that after gravitational accretion. Hence, we have our formation of the moon story and our explanation for the oversized molten iron core that should have cooled down already in their timeline. And it's true because they made it up themselves.
I'd like to see a demonstration of how to deposit a molten hot thing.
Oh, I can tell you. Oh, that's part of the story. Oh, that's one of the best bits,
when
Alwyn.
something is molten hot, it splatters all over the place when it hits something that's not.
No, because of the No, you just don't understand orbital mechanics and the trajectory of Theia and its impact at a glancing blow. I did say glancing. Did everyone hear me say glancing blow?
Yes, and Neil deGrasse Tyson backs you up. He says the craters on the moon are the way they are because of that glancing blow. They showed the way they are, like
magic speed.
No, I think you mean they don't show that because they're not coming in.
But every time I demonstrate anything liquid hitting anything solid, the liquid splatters apart. Doesn't really matter how.
Hold on, let me just appeal to Arwin. Look, you don't understand because in order for me to demonstrate this, you'd have to have something at the planetary scale to show it. Therefore, I'm, reasonable.
Bastard.
This has to be true, or we wouldn't have TVs, guys.
If it wasn't for the molten iron core and Theia's impact and those magnetic waves, we wouldn't have the TV transmission exactly as you've just described. That's right. And we wouldn't have computers either. We wouldn't have pagers and fax machines.
Right. So it's like it has to exist in a paradoxical fashion because we have TVs in order to see it on them. So it has to exist, or the TVs could not have been made to show us that it exists.
Okay, now we've had a lot of farce. Somebody play the harp string so we can float our way back to reality. Right, back in reality, the claim of the glancing blow of Theia with the heliocentric fledgling Earth requires the acquisition of those heliocentric motions for a sphere Earth that was derived from a flat plane to get it to be spherical, to put it into an orbital motion. So you're going to need a flat plane for that story. You're going to have to start with flat Earth elevation angle measurements to claim that the Earth's spherical, defying the very premise of the measurements you took to claim it. And then go forward with the story about Theia smashing into the Earth and the moon being formed from its debris.
You've ruined it now with facts, haven't you?
I have, I know. But it's true that you do actually need a flat plane to claim you're on a sphere.
See, when Adam told the story, I was falling asleep quite nice until you had to ruin it with facts.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Well, in the Polonium Chronicles, there is a reference to it, isn't there, Adam?
They couldn't tell. They were swimming around in molten lava. They really weren't.
What?
Well, yeah, the
No.
shadow. The shadow.
No, you can't talk about them being in molten lava. That makes no sense. Then they couldn't have left the rings. No, now you're going way too far with the breaking of reality here, Adam.
Does a shadow
This
cast
is-
in molten lava?
You talk
Hold
about
on,
people like that.
Owen's calling out Adam for his farce being too farcical.
Yes. So
Cultural
the whole point of
appropriation,
polonium
Owen.
rings.
You
Look,
can't
you
take
can
the
go with
story of other
polonium
people.
but you can't say that that polonium rings were left in lava. That's
The
the
question is,
destruction of the entire original premise.
No,
The question-
no. They were lava creatures. They swam around in the molten lava. That's why when the lava sets, they're there, trapped in time.
there you go.
You gotta
And
have a
Mike, you
medium.
cast
Hold
it-
on, you can't have polonium people without that medium, Arwin. I mean, that's a prerequisite.
That's just
You're gonna
just
need the
basic
medium, the
knowledge.
lava medium.
No.
Obviously.
If there was lava, then there wouldn't have been any rings in order for us to know there could have potentially been polonium people.
That's precisely our point.
Keep your presuppositional reasoning straight. You're just making it psychotic.
You're agreeing with us.
You're not lava people. You don't know the dynamics of lava people, so don't
Get
try.
out of here.
No, the question is distance of the sun. Now, did the sun, whatever distance it was from the polonium people, was there a shadow cast of the people on the lava?
According to the Polonium Bible, it says that it's one distance to a rainbow times by the factor of 3. I don't know what they're talking about.
Look at Arwen showing his privilege over polonium people.
Yeah.
Are you talking
Nathan,
about
I have
whether?
We inherited the earth. They didn't.
That's the
Screw polonium
meek.
people.
Listen, I got 2 slides.
People,
Master
humans.
B
Me kid.
might shed some light on this.
Polonium
Illuminate
people
us.
never got to see the light because they're inside of the rock.
Arwin
We're
won't
on
let you.
to
Arwin won't let you. He was too triggered about the Polonium people.
Yeah, I know. Well, so you have the length of shadows, the picture?
No, but I will in 3 seconds. Go.
All right, since we're talking about a light source here. So here's a light source, and there's a short shadow. Source of light, the sun is nearly overhead. You go to the image directly to the right of that, light source, long shadow, source of light, the sun is at a large angle. Now, we've experienced this, have we not? Anybody not experienced this?
Punxsutawney Phil experiences this.
What?
This is whether or not there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter or not.
Ah, okay. But you've seen long shadows in the afternoon of trees in the park, right? And then you've been at the park at noon and the shadows right around the tree itself. I mean, we've all experienced this in a room even, just a small room. But I just would like to say, you see the base? That's flat. Let's go to the next slide.
You know, Temph, with that picture, even though the base is flat, you could interpret the shadows to tell you how curved that flat surface is, you know.
Well,
That's
yeah,
true.
we're about to go there.
That is
we're
true.
about to go there.
Oh, is that exactly where we're going?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. Polonium people have this ability to know the future. So thank you, Adam. Navigating on curved surface. In approximately 300 BC, Eratosthenes, Greek mathematician living in Alexandria, devised a method of calculating the circumference of the Earth, and in doing so provided evidence to support his long-held belief that the Earth is a sphere. Eratosthenes reasoned that if 2 objects of equal height are placed in sunlight on the Earth's surface at a considerable distance apart, then at any given point in time, assuming the Earth is flat, they will cast shadows of equal length. In other words, the angle between the objects and the rays of sunlight would be the same. However, with the help of friends in Aswan, he observed that this was not so, that the shadows were unequal length. From this, he deduced that the surface of the Earth is curved. He went on to calculate the circumference of the Earth by following simple reasoning. Now, I'm not going to read the rest of that, but you just saw that picture. What is this man assuming? He's assuming first the Earth is flat, and then all of a sudden there's a long shadow somewhere 500 miles away, but where he's at, it's not. So the Earth must be curved. Really now, after looking at that picture?
If you, as Brian keeps pointing out recently, ignore perspective completely and assume a sphere.
And what else?
And take elevation
Sunlight.
and take angle measurements off a flat plane.
And sunlight coming in parallel rays.
And sunlight not diverging from its point source. No, correct. There's a whole load of assumptions that you've got to make.
Yep.
Well, there's also, if you want to try to debunk your original premise, you have to stop using the actual measure you're using of arc minutes or navigator's minute, however you want to say it, and then just go to trigonometry to try to debunk your original position.
I see. So as long as you've got the angles, maybe if you get your friend to measure the angles off a flat Earth and then he comes and delivers them to you and just says, shh, don't worry about where I got these angles. Nobody needs to know that. Here's the angles, go forth and use them on a sphere. Obviously, if you want to use these angles from the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, that's up to you. Do what you got to do.
But John, in your spherical kitchen, can you achieve with a light source directly in the middle above you, 7.2 degree shadow? You go away from the light source?
If your brain's ticking over thinking, could I do that or not? I'm just going to say yes, just to keep the conversation going.
Well, yeah, no, I was about to say that's what I did in the last video I put out, was I showed the trick that they're doing and how you can replicate it in your kitchen. So,
Can we play that video?
What is it, protothad?
Can someone post that? Can you post it? Someone post it in Master B and we'll play it. It's only about 3 or 4 minutes long, isn't it?
Like 2 minutes. That's how short it is.
Yeah, let's play it. If someone can post it in Discord for me, that'd be not in Discord, in Master B.
I'm on my phone. I can't. I'm sorry.
Where was it last time? I'll go look for it.
Hopefully, for the audience's benefit, we'll get to play this for you because it got played about a week ago, and we've talked about it a lot. But I think it is well worth revisiting your video.
Unicorn, this is a new one.
Oh, there's a new one. Oh, right. Yeah, well, I've not seen it then. Oh, well, this will be great. Oh, happy days. I didn't expect.
This is born out of the challenge that has been set.
Sorry, why are we being set challenges?
Just because they're kind, because they can't bring a decent argument to us. So to fill our afternoons in after you've gone, yeah, keep the conversation going. The ballers are kindly setting us little dirty tricks for us to work through to see if our comprehension is fully up to speed.
Okay. Beyond the general, I need to prove that you're not as smart as you say you are, therefore everything you say is therefore void argument, straw man fallacy, stereotyping fallacy, ad hom fallacy. Beyond those, what I mean to say is these arguments aren't our arguments. They're how celestial navigation is done. So if there's any challenge to what we're presenting from celestial navigation handbooks, magazines, and references in general, then you need to challenge the method of celestial navigation, not us flat earthers who happen to be referencing it. So why are they setting us with that in mind, Adam? Why are they setting us challenges? I don't get it.
It's only just, I think, just so we don't get bored, and solely because they don't have any actual argument with regards to the nature of Earth to have. So the only arguments or discussions or challenges that they can do are things that are kind of to do with the subject, but won't actually get them too triggered and cause them too much cognitive pain. So they're seeing to deal with things like, can a flat earther understand celestial navigation? And straw man like that, because obviously...
Right. They don't have a problem with the information. They have the problem with us pointing it out.
No.
I don't think that's true either, Arwin. I think they're repositioning what's actually done in celestial navigation as an incorrect claim made by flat earthers about how celestial navigation's performed. It's like, no, we're not claiming that's how it's done. That's how it's done. Here it is. This is how it's done. And then they start asking us to explain how if you take an angle measurement from a star back on towards Earth, that you don't know the height of the star, therefore it don't work. You're like, but celestial navigation, as per our argument, is an angle measurement from a flat plane to an object in the sky. not from the object in the sky back down to Earth, so you can ask us why, if you don't have a height, that won't work. See, that seems silly, because we're not making any claims about measuring angles from stars that even for you are having to be explained as being infinitely distant. When we say we don't know what the height of the star is, we know that you can measure an angle and it's directly correlative to the line between you and the position above the ground that it's at. Useful and used. But does that in any way involve the height of the star?
Everything you're saying backs my point, really. Right? Because that's their silly, nonsensical, straw-manning, idiotic response. But they never really had a problem with it as long as nobody pointed it out. Now, us constantly telling them, reminding them, look, 90 degrees, you need the right angle triangle. It doesn't work. That's the part they have a problem with. They didn't have a problem ignoring that part when they had to face it originally. Just skip over. Don't think about it. But because we remind them about it, that's giving them the problem. And that's why they respond so farcically and self-contradicting.
Well, part of this is in the assumption. I posted the video. It's 25 after the hour. It's the actual measure. It's an arc measurement, that they're doing from the co-altitude. You're assuming that is a shape.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Bunk and Debunk. Debunk's in bed again, but there's some people out there saying that my kitchen is flat. And I'm just going to go ahead and prove to them how they are wrong. Now let's go over here to the math, because math is reality as we know. Here we go. Let's go up here, and you see there at the top, You see right there? Okay. We had 107 inches divided by 70, and that's our co-altitude, which gives us 1.528 such and such arc inches. Now, to prove the Earth is, to prove that the kitchen is not flat, we'll take a 35-degree co-altitude and multiply that by our arc inches and get 53.5. That's what it is. But if the kitchen is flat, we'll take the tangent is equal to the opposite over the adjacent, which is a simple formula. So we got tangent times 107 gives 38.9448150665. That's the height of our triangle. Then we'll take that 35 degrees, if it was flat, and multiply it by our number and get 27.694530.837. Oh, wait, look at that, guys, right there. The 27.2694530.837 does not match the 53.5 if my kitchen was a sphere. Boom! My kitchen's a sphere, dog it.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen every single time from now on. If somebody like Protothad comes along and says, your flat Earth angle measurements aren't going to work on a flat Earth, here's how. We'll show how that directly can correlate with refracted curvatures, kitchen, being measured and inferred from flat Earth angle measurements to be a sphere also. And then check it out after the fact. We can take Protothad's method and show exactly how, when engineered back onto the claim of a, flat Earth kitchen? When it's been using flat Earth angle measurements to get it. Yeah, well, that's provable as a sphere after the fact. Hey, John, good job. I love that method, Protothad. Proved how spherical John's kitchen is. Amazing.
Yeah, it was a complete success. Now I just got to figure out, the other physics of my kitchen. It's going to be a wild ride as far as I can tell.
Did you ever get around the problem
I just can't handle a voice.
Obviously, positionally, spherically, your car's 90 degrees to your position where you are now, right, in the garage? Did we ever get around that?
90 degrees on a sphere?
Yeah.
That's refraction.
Yes.
We didn't.
Thank you, Adam.
Adam's a genius. That's why you are here. Of course, refraction. Why didn't I think of that? At the rate of the ball that you've inferred.
Exactly.
Not a problem.
This is just simple logic, guys.
Just
simple
hate having loose ends.
logic.
You know, that 90-degree car to your position now in your house, in your garage. That's the problem, unless you know there's gravity. And refraction.
Yeah, that's so now we have to study the gravity of my kitchen because we've proven it. So now we just have to start making observations of it.
I think you've done more than prove it. You've gone beyond proving it. You've taken your flat earth angle measurements. You've used the maths to take that to a spherical measurement. So your kitchen is now spherical, obviously. The model of your kitchen is the kitchen you're in. And then when someone's come along and gone, hang on a second, you've used flat earth angle measurements to turn this into a sphere kitchen, you go, no. If I take the angle back from the lighting fixture, it can't be flat. Boom. Take that. You've gone beyond proving it. Disproved the measurements you took in the first place could have even been taken, paradoxically, and that paradox basically leaves you with a sphere win.
Exactly, because nobody wins. Because it can't be flat and it can't be a sphere. So it's got to be a sphere.
Yeah, when a sphere don't work and it can't be flat that you use to turn it into a sphere, then it can't be flat. And everyone knows it's a sphere, therefore sphere wins. It's just that simple, really.
Right, it has to be a sphere somehow.
Exactly, Owen. You've got to have some reason. And if you can't figure it out as an individual, don't worry your precious little head about it. Somebody much, much smarter than you will have figured it out. And if some flat earther tells you otherwise, you tell them how stupid they are.
Well, that's the thing. Why would I be looking for the radius of my kitchen if it didn't have one?
Exactly. The fact that we've even got this value on paper, written down and qualifiable with maths, means it must exist. It would not exist if it wasn't written down. Can't not exist. It does exist.
We've calculated it.
Exactly. Into existence.
Exactly. So there you go.
Math is reality, guys.
Yeah, but
That's
just
go on. That's a Kumo virus logic.
But just to clarify, what we've calculated into existence is the sphere kitchen, and we've done that by way of a flat plane. And you know what? The Earth that the majority Western world occupier thinks is a sphere Earth beneath their feet has also been derived from a flat plane. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, the angles you use to calculate it will have no validity if the surface you took them from was curved. You have to know that the surface is flat. You get your angle so you can exactly figure out how curved it is.
And none of this could have happened without the polonium sextant.
With space plumb bombs.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Proof that polonium people ever used tools.
Just in case anybody infers that the 90-degree car to the position of the spherical kitchen is somehow a proof of something. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Well, that would be the 90-degree car to my kitchen.
Oh, my bad. Obviously, with the 90-degree car refracted up to your position that you're looking at it flat, that's gravity that's keeping it at 90 degrees when you actually get to it. Because obviously it's only relative to your position at the time you're there. So when you get to the car, it's not 90 degrees to your position because you're at the car's position now. Am I right? I'm just assuming that's the case, obviously.
Well, there's a much better proof, right? The proof that Newtonian gravity exists is because it's the only way to actually be able to represent a model of the heliocentric universe.
Heliocentric kitchen.
Heliocentric kitchen, Arwin. Try keep
or
up.
Kitchen, whatever.
Or whatever we've decided to make spherical with flat earth angle measurements. Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Tin Chin in the chat. Good to have you here.
I just saw that and the icon. Pass.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics. That's why I can't have Discord chat. I wouldn't have caught that had it been covered in some Discord poison. Was that in the after show? All right, if that becomes an in-joke for the live audience, I'm sorry. I forget where we are. We did discuss it in the pre-show. If it is an in-joke, it's not. We have discussed it. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Well, if you were going to assert a hypothesis in those fields and you're a heliocentrist, you would need a flat plane to derive a radius value to describe your phenomenon within.
Feels good to be a flat earther at the moment. I don't know about you guys. I'm pretty chilled with the whole thing since this angle requirement for a flat plane. I mean, I don't know about you. I've been pretty cool about the whole thing. Other than the liars. That does make my blood boil.
But if this line on Dunkin' Donuts don't move in 2 seconds, I'm going to flip out.
You talking to me or the teller?
Talking to anybody who can.
I think the teller.
Probably.
But yeah, it's like seeing behind the magic trick and then, hearing the people argue about how it's not a magic trick, even when you can show them the magic trick in your kitchen. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it does make you wonder why they, had kids right up until my generation being showed the magic of the yellow brick road and the curtain being pulled back at the end. They showed that every single Christmas. Anyway, any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
No, I did hear something about that in the pre-show as I joined, dropped, and come back again. Was it Arthur?
Arthur was saying even in India they would make the assumption, well, the people that he's spoken to have said that, no, if I release a bit of helium into a vacuum chamber, it'll be gradiated.
Based on what?
Based on ignorance. Based on gas go down, go boom, boom because of gravity. That's why we qualified it. I should have said that bit. He started out by saying some of the people around by me who I talked to about this subject also assume gas go down, go boom, boom.
Fair enough.
That's an odd thing to believe.
Yeah, but even PhD Thunderfoot Clown asserts that gas go down, go boom, boom like solid bouncy balls. That's what they assert.
Just as odd as saying that when you do navigation, you have to assume the Earth is motionless.
Become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member to check out the pre-show. In that regard. Did we cover all the housekeeping questions? Molten core. Any other distance to the sun we covered as well, didn't we? We definitely ended up talking about AU. Arwinian unit. And I think we covered all the housekeeping questions. That's the first time this week.
How about R?
Any evidence of the R value? Good job, your ear, Arwin.
Mate. No.
It exists in the math only.
Black Swan.
I mean, we've got a fully angle measured and radius value calculated for John's kitchen. We've got evidence of that.
Yeah, irrefutable evidence. You can prove out it definitely couldn't have been taken from a flat Earth in terms of the measurements you're using to assert how not flat it is if you take the measurement of the angle from his light bulb. Amazing, really. You can prove how it must be spherical. Or at the very least, you've got a paradox that wouldn't allow anybody to win, and therefore it's a sphere, because obviously consensus all knows it's a sphere. So if you lose and I lose, then it's still a sphere.
Yeah, I think John's done better than that. I think he's definitely proved it can't be flat. Because he's calculated his arc nautical inches on the ceiling, worked out the ratio of arc inches per degree, gone to another place and realised that that ratio doesn't apply and it's incorrect. Therefore, his ratio doesn't work in the sky. Therefore, it can't be flat.
But the arc was off 2 straight lines. One of them was flat and on the ground, Adam.
You are not getting the beauty of this. You have
I'm just
to
getting
assume
hung up on the
arc
flat
was in
Earth bit,
shape.
aren't I?
Yes, you're getting hung up on this flat kitchen part where it has to be flat to get the measurements to begin with.
You've got to get past that. You've
How
got to
about-
get past that initial knowledge that allows you to take the angle. You've got to work and move past that moment.
Right,
Yeah.
somebody mute Arwin so we can't claim this is his and Arwinian idea in about 3 months from now, right?
I just wanted to introduce a new terminology: kitchen refraction.
No.
Well, it has more
No,
of a
no.
basis in reality.
No, we're giving them
Because I do
tips.
have
It was obviously too subtle. I'll just break down what Adam's just said. What we need to do is, I'm now paraphrasing us as anti-flat earthers, right? So we're the anti-flat earthers, and what we must do is have a means of acquisition of that flat earth elevation angle that we need, but by means that isn't me doing it, giving me plausible deniability. So this is what I'm going to suggest we do. I get a third party to go out and measure the flat earth angle and bring it back. Just give it me as a number. And then obviously from that point, I can do whatever I like with it in the maths, right? I can have it coming from the centre of a presupposed spherical earth. I can have it working off a tangent. I can do whatever I like with it. I just don't need to know where it came from.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot easier if somebody just gives you the angle.
Exactly.
And you don't have to accept the reality of how it was obtained.
So, if you've got black market flat earth elevation angles for sale, there's a lot of anti-flat earthers that are there as a market for you. So, who's got black market flat earth elevation angles for sale? Because you're going to need them for your sphere belief.
Where's Chocolate at when you need him? You know, he's selling geometric horizons there for a bit. Maybe he can get in on this too.
Smash the super chat if you want to buy a black market flat earth elevation angle for use on an anti-flat earth non-sphere you'll be denying because it's refracted.
I gotta go.
Wally is in chat, by the way. Whereas Wally is there.
Who?
Addressing you, Nathan.
Yes, lots of people address me from the chat. It's a public show though, isn't it? If you'd like to join, there's a live stream queue. One of the mods will move you into the live stream show so you can address me right here, right now. That's the beauty of having an open door live show. I don't have to sit and read endless jibber jabber from comments, otherwise known as the peanut gallery. So yeah, black market elevation angles are available. I won't tell you where they came from, right? You don't need to know they came from a flat earth. Nobody needs to know that, right? But once you've got them, you can go and batter flat earthers with them and how they don't work on a flat earth. Shh, they came from a flat earth, but I just won't tell you that. And you'll have plausible deniability. I'll just give you the numbers. Don't need to know where they came from. Flat earth.
Well, in their defense, they're not actually using the angle measurement they took. They're subtracting from 90, which is another, problem for them. But then they're using
No, you've ruined this. I'm trying to sell black market angles here. Don't mention 90. What the hell are you doing?
Well, I was just trying to give them the angle that they need, because just getting the flat Earth.
You're making this worse. As soon as you say 90, that obviously tells them they've got it from a flat earth. Nobody needs that crap. Bloody hell, you're
Well, that's what I
ruining
was
my
saying.
black market angle selling business.
Well, you're going to have to sell the co-altitude. You can't sell the actual angle
See, now
measurement.
you're getting it. Yeah,
There you go.
co-altitude. Nobody mentioned that which shall not be mentioned, that 9 and a 0 next to it. That doesn't get mentioned when you say co-altitude. Just say co-altitude. Now you're getting it. Nobody mentioned what a co-altitude is. Everyone else shut your mouths. Black market angles are available.
Right, and in a co-altitude, all you need is your zenith and the
Don't
angle
mention zenith.
away from
Oh,
bottom.
God, you're crap at this. Don't mention zenith. Right?
Zenith is to the a zenith is to the center of a presupposed spherical kitchen. Or
You've got to
Earth.
get that in. If you're going to say that word, you've got to get these disclaimers in as an anti-flat earther first. You know, we're laying out the rules here live. This is disgraceful. No one's going to buy my elevation angles. Nobody smashed the super chat. Nobody wants these now. You've tarnished this. I blame you, John.
It's got co-altitude angle that has no connection whatsoever to a flat Earth. Fine.
What?
I think you'll find it's the co-altitude angle that has no connection whatsoever to a flat Earth.
Yeah, it does.
If you're trying to sell him, you can't tell him that.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't following along. So you've only joined into this fast a second ago, Brian. You need to give us a heads up what you're doing. You're normally super serious. It's not like you to be jovial.
I am deadly serious. It's €5,000 per angle. That's co-altitude angle.
Excuse me, bitch. This is my fucking corner. How dare you? I'll claw your eyes out. I noticed the thumbnail. I don't know who made it. Somebody had a moan thumbnail, or it was sent to me in Skype. Might have been ranty. I just got to see the thumbnail of someone saying, claim to be subject matter expert, wants $5,000.
Oh, yeah. It's like, no, I don't claim to be a subject matter expert. I am a subject matter expert. And I don't want $5,000. That is my fee. So
yeah, take it or leave it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, just as a point on that, can they point to an actual flat Earth subject matter expert that could refute his claim of being a subject matter expert on the flat Earth?
To be fair, that's something that someone else, it wasn't you, but somebody after the fact pointed out to me. What else have you got as a flat Earth subject matter expert? Like, literally, what else is there out there? Well, we know every single one of them pretty much, don't we? I mean, there might be some exceptions, but we know them all. So
yeah. Any English-speaking ones we definitely do, anyway.
That's a better way of putting it. Yeah, any English-speaking flat Earth quote-unquote subject matter experts, I am almost certain I've got their contact details.
So what they need to do is find a Farsi-speaking flat Earth expert to refute his claim of being a flat Earth subject matter expert.
Yeah, you need to get an actual subject matter expert that's in the field of flat Earth in a university, because obviously that's the standard, right?
Well, if they do find someone who is a greater subject matter expert than any of us, then that'll be bad for them, because that person will know things even we don't know.
Maybe they could get QE to refute it.
Didn't they just tell us an earth curve stencil made of like tinfoil, wood, clay, porcelain, anything? I mean, like all the, the great, calculators of the fake measurement of a supposed globe. Shouldn't all these guys in like surveying and construction have an earth curve stencil? Like I can make them one and sell them one out of tinfoil if they want one. I'm not saying it's going to be real, but I'll make them one.
You would think they would have them.
You'd think they'd have to, right? Like we have a meter stick that's 3 feet and it's straight. You'd think they'd have to have their curved stencil stick that has a curve to it slightly. A meter stick with a slight curve to it. Shouldn't this exist?
Yeah,
on the globe?
Where the distances along the meter stick are painted in to account for the lean that would happen.
Well, you could take
I'm just
like a protractor.
Nobody's made one of these.
Well, they have pictures of it, but it just doesn't match the angle measurement of a right angle, because you can't have a curved adjacent, but they show pictures of it curving.
I'm thinking there must have been some really naive people back in the day to allow this lie to grow so large that that's our belief system now, that we're living on a spinning water ball. I think people were stupid back then. I'm sorry.
No, I think you've summarised the reason in the question. It becomes our religion. It's the Western world religion. It's the one world religion. Heliocentrism is that one world religion being described by Bush Senior. But just nobody realises it.
I think you're right.
But Neil, they wouldn't have been able to refute it, because if the people promoting it were, let's say, of the educated class, like people who were astronomers of the time and different things like that, if those kind of people who were promoting it, because even Samuel Rowbotham, his number one opponent was this well-known surveyor who, you know what I mean? So there you go. It was like there was always some supposed learned person that was refuting their claims. So, but if you go back even before that, like how could they prove that it wasn't a globe to everyone at the time? All they could do was just not believe it's a globe. They wouldn't have been able to prove it, to the masses. There was no internet. There wasn't even TV or radio. There wasn't anything. There was no way around it. You know, whoever was in charge said what it was.
As opposed to, I thought you were going to launch into the comparison with now, but clearly not.
What's that?
What comparison? Well, by comparison, if you've got that description of people not being able to disseminate the information by the means and not having necessarily the knowledge to even disseminate in the first place, by comparison, now we have a meeting of minds across the oceans with the million miles of fibre optic cable that we have at our disposal to have this conversation that we're having right now, as amazing as that is when I summarise it, to have a meeting of minds and a realisation that there's certain aspects of a plane that we utilise daily, in this case celestial navigation, that proves beyond all certitude that you can't not have a flat plane beneath your feet. But then you only have the last bit of that problem that they had back then, which is disseminating it to the masses. Well, in the case of this particular platform, we're governed by the platform, and the category is considered fringe. Now, obviously, algorithmically, that's not a problem for them to promote our anti-flat Earth counterparts, even though they've got the same title and tags as we have. But nevertheless, if you're an actual devout flat earther, as I would consider myself, then you are considered fringe in this particular arena, which means you don't get any of the promotion that your flat Earth, anti-flat Earth counterpart will get.
I would say it's time for people to subscribe to Nathan Oakley in 1980 then.
Indeed, and become a member so you can see the pre-show with Tent's excellent presentation, like 3 or 4 days before the rest of the general public get to see it.
Now, these anti-flat earthers, didn't they, when they issued this challenge to us about the co-altitude angles, wasn't there a monetary amount applied to, like, if we could figure it out?
I don't know. I have no idea what this is. I don't, unless someone's come on the show and actually presented this garbage to us. I'm not Mr. Current Affairs. I don't keep up with that crap anymore.
Well, what Adam Meakin's presenting right there.
Okay.
If you don't, yeah, that
this is what you did. You've just poked fun at this. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Am I ruining a joke? Go ahead, John.
But no, it's not a joke, because I thought that there was a monetary amount applied to this as a proof that the Earth can't be flat. Is he going to pay me money now, or am I thinking of somebody else?
It could have been John. It could have been. I don't remember now. But you would be worth asking him. Well, it probably wouldn't be worth asking him.
Well, that's a good point. No. So in address to the challenge, whatever the challenge may be, I don't need to understand it. John has shown that in this example of the challenge, I assume that's what you're doing with your request for cash, if there is one, i.e. a reward, to say that I've taken a flat plane, engineered it into the exact same sphere Earth mathematics you will and do use, to then use your example to show how it's not flat when it was measured flat. Therefore, debunking the claim that this demonstrates how it can't work on a flat plane when the original assertion of the sphere you're saying can't be shown to be flat was taken off a flat plane in your example. Debunking the claim that this cannot work on a flat plane. Therefore, you're owed some money. And I agree. If there's money available for this, and it's claimed to be a proof that it can't work on a flat plane, and you show how the angle that's being used in the challenge came from a flat plane, you are owed money.
We show that. We also figure out the tricksiness of the problem, and this is what we had fun with yesterday afternoon.
Don't forget to use a GoPro lens in your kitchen to make it look super round too.
That would have been a better angle to have had on the video. I'll agree with you there, Dimmock. Yeah, if you'd have used a GoPro when looking at your wall and said, look how bendy my claim to be geometric wall is.
Yeah, but you don't have no Atmo day in John's kitchen.
No, that's true. I mean, we haven't engineered rarefaction into these mathematics, but we've got a separate set somewhere else, haven't we, John?
Yes, I do have a geometric obstruction I call my wall. So I have that over their model.
No, but we discussed it earlier with your car. Obviously, if there's refraction needed to explain something, that is in separate maths that can be applied, regardless of how it also would make none of these straight lines straight anymore. It's separate maths, so is the bit I'm driving at, right? You have definitely got separate refraction maths based on the R that you're proving when you took these flat plane measurements, transposed them into the challenge mathematics, and showed how it couldn't be flat with the flat Earth angle measurements you took in the first place. You've got refraction maths for that separately, haven't you, John?
Well, of course, they're based on a sliding scale, but the R value is always there, and I have a geometric obstruction to prove that R value.
Perfect.
Which
is more than they've got? More than they've got. So who owes you money?
My model.
So can we be told John's owed money?
Well, the slide that Adam is showing from Proto, he's not even doing celestial navigation properly with the 40-degree elevation angle. He does it with the 65, and it was on the show that showed this slide before, and someone asked me to comment on it. And I said, he's doing it wrong. They said, explain. And I typed in, well, 25 times 60 nautical miles is 1,500 nautical miles. He did it right there, as Adam and us talked about yesterday. And then I said, but he didn't do the 50 right, because 50 times 60 from an elevation angle of 40 would be 3,000. He's got a number written there, 2333. So he's not doing celestial navigation. He's doing something else, but not celestial navigation here.
I want to know
What
why
he's
a
doing-
Como virus is. I want to know why a Como virus is begging for 4 more hours.
Hey,
Does he
leave
have
that peanut
something?
gallery. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, what Prototype did was he cheated. His first angle was an elevation angle, a celestial navigation elevation angle. No problem there. His second angle used the distance, the nautical mile distance that he had already gotten from his first celestial navigation angle. The second angle then pre-assumed that the star was 3,000 nautical miles high, and he did trigonometry, not an elevation angle, a celestial navigation elevation angle. The difference is celestial navigation use triangulation, not trigonometry. They are not trying to determine the height of the star. And so that's what he had to do for his second angle. So the reason that his distances are different with his second angle is because he used a 3,000 nautical mile high height to the opposite side of the right triangle for the star. And he then did trigonometry on that angle, on that right triangle. But the problem is he didn't use the 50, he didn't subtract the 40 from the 90 and use the 50 by 60 to create 3,000 nautical miles.
So he didn't use celestial. So he didn't use the method used in celestial navigation then?
No, he didn't. No, he cheated.
This is the fun of the video as well. So the first point, he uses celestial navigation to define his distance of 1,500 nautical miles, and he takes his elevation angle, subtracts from 90 to get his co-angle, and multiplies it to generate that 1,500 nautical miles, which is celestial navigation. So he uses the 25, not the 65, to define his distance. What, as Brian was then saying, what he then does is he moves from celestial navigation, takes his reading again off his flat plane to get the 40 degrees. But instead of now using celestial navigation and using the co-angle to generate the 3,000 nautical miles, which would be the full base of the baseline, making both distances 1,500 nautical miles, the way he does then, he switches to standard geometric trigonometry. And in doing so, he has to, from the previous angle of 65 and previous distance of 1,500 meters, he has to assign distances from the GP to the actual star and for the two hypotenuses. They all achieve, whether you write them down or not, they all achieve real term values because you're no longer doing celestial navigation. And if you then do that and just do it as standard trigonometry, not celestial navigation, the distance of the full baseline at 40 degrees will turn out to be 3,833 degrees if you've used the 65 and the 1,500, because the way you calculate it is from the 40 degrees internally, trigonometrically, as opposed to with the 50 degrees using celestial navigation.
With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, and this is of particular note if you drive an electric vehicle. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Well, what he's actually showing is it Nathan back or Whittle, Nathan?
I'm back.
Okay, yeah. I just want to so the audience can hear it. What he has actually done is I'm going to lay out his claims first. He claimed that celestial navigation do not use right-angle triangles, and there is no evidence that they do in any of the source material from celestial navigation. He also claimed that these right-angle triangles would not work on a flat Earth, and he made some other claims, but I'll leave it at that for the moment, right? So he then took right-angle triangles and he proved with his first 65-degree angle using celestial navigation and creating a 1,500 nautical mile distance that is a co-altitude distance to his minutes of degree across the sky, right? 25 by 60. He proved that celestial navigation, without even having source material, he proved that they do use those right-angle triangle, and he proved that they do work on a flat Earth, right? And then he went on to prove that trigonometry also works on a flat Earth. That's what he actually did.
What is your beef with Okumu virus? Is here now, Neil, if you want to have it out with him, whatever your issue was.
Well, before he does that, I'd like to point out that the co-altitude arc is lowering the altitude of the star as if it was a physical position instead of where it removes perspective. So then when you calculate the height of the star based on that, you're going to end up with a faulty trigonometric ratio.
Indeed. Something that Brian pointed out right at the start.
Yeah, one of the first things I said to Tent Man is that he's pre-assuming a height of some kind here, and that's exactly what he was doing. He's pre-assuming that there's a 3,000 nautical mile height to the opposite side of the right triangle. That he's created with 40 degree. So, using the original celestial navigation angle.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Brian. So, if it wasn't for us being at the tip of the spear here at Flat Earth Debate, we could be in the unfortunate position where we're verifying flat Earth models and claiming that we've got heights to these celestial objects at 3,000. And therefore, this argument, because of our requirement, if we had one, to defend our claimed height of the sun, in this instance, would lead us to a loss in this argument. So, as a net result of us saying, well, we don't actually know, having a bit of humility and saying we don't know the height of this, we just know how celestial navigation measures an angle to it, and that's how it's done. And you definitely need a flat plane to measure the angle. It's an elevation angle.
Yeah, so I mean, the fact that we don't... Sorry.
Well, I was going to summarise what I just said, which is, flat Earth is always seemingly laid out in a trap so that things that you originally go, wow, isn't it amazing? Look, you can make the same measurement that they make and insert R and get 3,000 miles. So I'll have that. and then suddenly you end up with someone like Proto coming along and seemingly getting the win out of you because you find yourself defending a 3,000-mile altitude that it'd be asserting. But because nobody's asserted it, you know, it's never actually come up until now on the show. Well, because none of us are asserting it. So I wondered right early on why I was like, you don't know the height of the star. What's the height of the star, or the sun in this case? You don't know the height. You don't know the height. What is the height? How are you going to claim the height? Trying to force me, and in the comments, this is, into a position where I assert the height. So why are they doing this? We ask daily for the distance to these objects because we don't know. But you need it in your argument, don't you? And if I haven't claimed 3,000, suddenly Proto has claimed it. Oh, really? So where'd you get your 3,000-mile height from? Well, I know where he gets that from, too. He gets that from a flat plane, doesn't he? When he claims it, as he does in this challenge. Because we're not claiming it, are we now? So, Proto, just one last little loose end. You're claiming a 3,000-mile sun? Oh, well, why would you be claiming that? Is it because you've measured a flat Earth elevation angle to claim it? Well, I didn't claim that. I very much avoided making that claim. Nice that you're using a flat Earth elevation angle to build a straw man of a 3,000-mile sun. Because I definitely didn't claim it. Nice that you are, though. It's either infinite or 3,000 miles, according to this Fundy Sphere believer. We don't know, but he's got all sorts of claims, all requiring flat Earth angle measurements to get. I love it.
Yeah. Number one, celestial navigation is trying to get the height of the star. I've never read it in 2 years of reading all the resources. What they do is they take an angle to the sun, and they have to take that number, which is just an angle, elevation angle, and subtract it from the vertical, the observer's zenith, 90. And then they have the co-altitude. Not once have I seen, oh, when you do this, we know the height of the star. Not once.
Yeah. See, what they're trying to do, what Proto has been trying to do, is straw man us with a model. So the fact that we don't claim a model here, the fact that we're on the tip of the spear, and we know better than to be claiming things like 3,000 nautical mile high stars, the fact we don't assert a model and embrace any kind of model means that they can't use rubbish like this and trickery and dishonesty, that's what it is, to try and debunk us.
This is ultimate straw man, as we've been reiterating. This is nothing to do with flat Earth or a ball Earth per se, yeah.
Or celestial navigation.
This is celestial navigation that they're trying to say isn't that they're attacking. They're not attacking us. Or in this case, they might be doing via a straw man. They're trying to say, you flat earthers do celestial navigation like this pile of muck they've just built here, and then go, and it don't work. Look, well, no, it doesn't, because if you think that's how it's done, you got another thing coming. In fact, I do give them credit. It is a very eloquently laid trap, which was fun to work out what they'd done and why it looked right, but why it wasn't right.
And why we never fell into it. Because we're not asserting the straw man model that they need for this argument to work in the first instance. So before they even got here, Protothad and his cronies were trying to ascribe a height to the sun in this arena. And there isn't one being ascribed by us. So when it finally came out as a proofsy that failed miserably, we haven't even fallen in the trap.
No. Nathan, I've got 6 slides, Master B, if you want to go to that.
Starting with the triangle that's on a curve that's not on a curve.
Yeah, around the circle of equal altitude, black and white.
Yes.
Can I just say one thing before you go into that, Tent?
Yeah, go.
Just on Proto. Protothad makes a comment very soon after I post the video, stating that I don't have any official source information proving that in my video, proving that they use the celestial navigation use right-angle triangles. The one I read out was from a web source, right? Still a source, still unofficial. It's a yachting source, still an official source. They use celestial navigation. That's what the whole thing was about. But I also had, right, Quartermaster 3 and 2, right? The very thing he said there was no evidence for for them using right-angle triangles in. And I had to point out to him, so this will tell everyone how much of a fraud Proto is. I had to point out to him where they say in that, right, that they subtract from 90 degrees and to get their co-altitude distance. Right, what would that be? Do you know what I mean? It's like, if somebody can't even work out that, you don't need to be a genius to work that out. So if someone can't even work that out, I don't know what to say. And on top of that, I had to point out at 6 minutes 21, right, where there is 3 right-angled triangles making 3 circles of equal altitude, all from an official source. Sorry, Grant.
Yeah. If you followed the show for 2 years almost, from Nathaniel Bowditch, American Practical Navigator, which every sailor should own and does own. And even our opposition said, oh, you got to go to Bowditch. Yeah, well, it says the same there as it does in everywhere else. All these articles that are written in yachting magazines, they're written by people who teach navigation, who use Bowditch as source material. In fact, we've cited and referenced everyone on this subject. I have yet to see one from them. Yeah, I have yet to see someone not cite themselves. The ballers cite themselves. We cite Celestial Navigation official sources. If you go to that slide, Nathan, that shows the co-altitude, the observer's zenith, and that circle. That's the one we're on?
Yeah.
I take it? Okay, perfect. So you can see right here, they go show 90 degrees because that's the star's GP, the star's vertical over the Earth, causing that subpoint, which is geographical position directly over the Earth. Well, you get that angle, right, which is height observed 60 degrees. Then the next move isn't, oh, we know how high that star is. No, they don't even do it for that. They say, all right, take 60 and minus it from your 90, the observer's zenith, which leaves you 30. And then 30 times 60 nautical miles, that means you're 1,800 nautical miles of zenith distance that you can bring down from the sky, and it matches the radius of that circle of equal altitude. This is their picture. Next slide. So here's an orthographic view of showing a man with a sextant and shooting a luminary, and obviously a right angle, obviously a 90, perpendicular relationship. Not us, Celestial Navigation. Next slide. Here, this was an interesting one because this person put out, but had to come back and do a second article because people were complaining he wasn't thorough enough. And so he says, all right, here's a simplified version. It looks like a 90, but they got that curved surface, which means contradiction. Then he says a more precise theoretical approach. And then, okay, we like this because you took it to the center of the Earth. Oh, the ballers feel good here. Except look at that observer's horizon. It matches the picture to the left there with the dotted line. So it's really not coming from the center. They're just saying, we'll pretend it is so you ballers can feel happy, basically, this picture is doing. Okay, and plus sunlight coming in parallel, which is a joke. It's divergent. Then he goes to the third, calculating for distance angle using that second one. And what does he do? Why is 90, 180, and what? How could that be? How could that be? Subtract from 90? Height observed, subtract from 90? Are you kidding me? Next slide. Then the angle measure with the sextant is in reality one corner of a right triangle. They didn't like that. That's why he did that other one. He had to show it from the center. But it's the same thing from the center. It's still a right triangle, except at the center of a presupposed ball. Underlined red to the right. Whenever you take a sight of the sun, you are one corner of a large triangle. It's a right triangle, proto. The difference being that the bottom of this one is not a straight line, but an arc. Wow, contradiction. And it's not just any old arc. This particular arc is a great circle track between you and the point on the Earth that is directly under the sun. A point known by the name of geographical position, but usually seen abbreviation GP. Now, you probably know great circle arcs can be measured in degrees, and it is happy fact that this bulgy bottom triangle, country, how you ballers live with yourself? The number of degrees in the arc defined by the bulge is equal to the number of degrees in the angle at its top, where the sun is, because this is a right triangle. The two acute angles add up to 90 degrees, and thus the top angle is equal to 90 degrees minus the angle at your corner, the angle you measure with your sextant. So by taking a sextant shot of the sun and subtracting it from 90 degrees, you can find out how far you are from the point of the Earth. Interesting. He didn't say, you know how far the sun is. That is directly underneath the sun. Isn't it amazing what you can do with a couple of mirrors and a little trig? Next slide. Reality versus bulgy bottom right triangles with a 90-degree box there with a question mark in it. Interesting. Last slide. In simplified terms, when we take a sextant altitude of the sun, we're creating a right-angled triangle between the Earth's surface at the GP and ourselves. Grade school geometry tells us that the two angles in the right-angled triangle must equal 90. Bye-bye, globe.
Stuff. Thank you, 10th.
Can I say something there about that, about this whole thing? There is a kind of a throwaway comment, right, that we're using trig, or sorry, not us, but Celestial Navigation are using trig, and they might use, as it was used there, they might use that comment. But technically, I don't know if you could call what they do trig. They're doing triangulation, using triangles, right? But they're not solving for the internals of the angle because they don't know the height of the star. So you could say they're doing trig, maybe, but to me, it's more like they're doing triangulation, not trigonometry. So I just want to throw that in there because even Ruhif told me I should delete my video because Nathan said in a comment somewhere that Celestial Navigation were doing trig. That means I should delete my video because I was stating to them that what Celestial Navigation are doing is triangulation, not trigonometry. If you go through the process of solving the angular size of the actual size of something off of the angular size, you have to know its actual size originally to know your distance from it, or to know its actual, or to gain its actual size, you need to know your exact distance. But to gain a distance, you need to know its actual size. That's trigonometry, right? You're not doing any of that in Celestial Navigation. You're doing triangulation. You're using the depression angle.
You're doing both.
Yeah,
but trigonometry does require
let me
solid
respond
data.
in a sentence. You're doing both. You're using the heavens to do your trigonometric calculation or the radius for your circle of equal altitude. You then draw your circles of equal altitude to do triangulation to give you a fix.
Correct. Trigonometry, the branch of mathematics concerned with the specific functions of angles and their application to calculations. There are 6 functions of the angle commonly used in trigonometry. Their names are abbreviated as sine, cosine, tangent, cotangent, and so on. Do you want to read the rest of it?
Well, it's just real simple because in his image, he put 2 triangles together into one, and that's not celestial navigation. Celestial navigation does 1 angle at a time, and once you get 3 of them, you have a fix, or 2 of them, you can get possibility of 2 areas you're at. So trigonometric functions apply, but there are more than one type of trigonometric functions. Adam, can you explain that, please?
Yeah.
Well, I can explain it.
I not really, no. I don't want to go into too much. I'm having fun listening to them. They clearly don't understand this, okay? Which is why they're painting their best guesses, I suppose, on us, saying, is this how you do it? Ruth's already offered me 100 quid for a lesson. Yeah? But it's for them to figure out, as I said, we take it to the stars. That's where the trigonometric functions are done. Brian showed you. He showed you with it and why it doesn't work on a ball, because you take it up and you calculate the distance in the sky, then you bring it down to the Earth. That's why your expanding trapezoid from a ball can't be brought down in the same way. Yeah, but that's what we do. You've got to get your heads around how and why. I don't want to explain too much to you, if I'm being honest, because clearly you don't understand. But as demonstrated by you trying to think that you can bastardize this model by using celestial navigation and land-based navigation, which will use these trigonometric functions as you're describing in the way you're doing. Yeah, but you seem to think you can meddle the two together. But yeah, the trigonometry is calculated in the sky and then transferred to the flat plane.
Well, yeah.
So celestial trigonometry, maybe. Go on, John.
It's resolved. The mathematics is resolved in the heavens. So the base distance is resolved in the heavens. This is what we talk about, the 2 for 1. Yeah, this is where it's resolved. Otherwise, you've got to have this nonsensical notion that you can know the height to the star. Well, you can't.
There's a limitation to this use of trigonometry in which you can't resolve the height of the star. That's a limitation.
If they pay attention, I was just going to say, if they pay attention.
No, the numpty dipshits are in a category error. We're not trying to solve the right triangle.
Exactly.
That's all.
Yeah, I just want to say.
Period. So if they think we are, then you need to show the equations in the Naval Almanac.
That's the point. Exactly.
Hypotenuse.
Exactly. You need to show the equations in the almanac because we're not claiming it. We're showing what celestial navigation does, and at no point at the end of the process do they say, and therefore the height of the star is. That's not what they're doing.
At what point is the height of the star any value to you when you navigate? What you want to derive from your calculations is the radius of your circle of equal altitude. That's the information you're trying to get. Yeah, and that's what is I'll say it again. It's delivered to you from the majesty of the heavens. That's why we use a square to measure the ground and a compass to measure the sky, and that's how we translocate it down. I'm saying no more.
I say sod this. Sod this. Let's turn it into attack. Why the hell have we got to sit here when we're taking flat Earth angle measurements and they're using them to make a claim of a sphere to then come back at us with this height of star crap? You know what? In celestial navigation, which does not solve for the height of the star, you, fundy sphere-believing idiot, can use that method to solve the height of the star. That puts your heliocentric system well out of whack, doesn't it? Now, obviously, we're not making any claims about heights of stars, so this isn't really a problem for me. But you definitely do make claim of a height of the stars, don't you? What's that you say? You just assume they're infinite in this example. No. You do have distances to stars, and this method, somehow for some unknown reason, we're being challenged about the height of the star, not that we make any claims about it. Like I say, you do. And this fucks that right up, doesn't it? So we'll just turn this bullshit nonsense we don't claim about a height of a star in a straw man model we ain't claiming here on Flat Earth Debate into an attack against our anti-Flat Earth opponents. This height, when using this methodology with Flat Earth elevation angles, nod, wink, wink, say no more, would also debunk your distances to the stars, wouldn't it, if you solve for the star? Not that we are.
Yep.
Hold on a minute. Does that mean that my kitchen's not a sphere?
All this is just a feeble red herring category error, a belly laughing one, as it is, to get away from the elevation angle argument.
Absolutely. If you did want to latch onto that red herring, turn it into an attack, make it absolutely clear that your 3,000-mile calculation, if you, not me, resolve the height of the star, very much messes up your heliocentric star distances now, doesn't it? Now, that would be an adaptation of a very weak 2015 argument put to strong effect with a nice sharp blade on it.
We had a chat. Me and John were text chatting yesterday. He says, still going? I says, yeah, but I am correct. I'm sure of it. And he says, you're correct? I was correct 4 hours ago. I says, yeah, I'm also correct. However, my correctness has an irrelevant level of greater detail. And that's literally where we're at, yeah? John's right from point why it kills it, because as we said to you at the start, Nathan, you've got to get over the fact that we're taking these measurements off a flat plane for the angle to have any validity. And that's what they try to whistle past with all this other detail afterwards. The ignorance of that initial flat Earth, ball-destroying proof.
Well, that's where I held him over the coals with that diagram on screen, although I didn't actually figure out which part of it he was using. It was the bit that he got the 1,500 miles from, was a actual flat Earth angle, elevation angle measurement. Now, he said move forward with that needed 90 and a flat plane to get, to then make his further claims and ask us how they don't work on a flat Earth. But as Brian pointed out when he summarised it earlier on the live show, your first angle measurement was taken off a flat plane. Now, I knew that. I didn't have to figure it out in the way that you've dissected it, you beautiful mathematicians on the panel. I knew that he needed a flat plane to make any of these claims in any instance. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah, he disproved all his claims with his first angle. Disproved all the claims he was making with that first angle, because he proved that everything he said was incorrect. Do you know what I mean? That was the funny thing.
He gets it from a flat plane. He uses celestial navigation to bring the distance down from the heavens, which is based upon a right angle triangle, two right angle triangles to obtain that distance. Yeah, that's his starting premise. He's already given two solid flat Earth proofs that cannot be applied to a ball. But you've got to move forward from there for him to do that.
So I got one more thing to say. Anybody with just a superficial knowledge of each subject, like trig and celestial navigation, just superficial. You never walk into a trig class, right? Sit down and take a test. There's never an occasion where I sit down and I only have a right triangle and nothing else, no sides, and ask me to solve it. It's a belly laugher. You Graham Munch and Baltards are, I don't know who you're trying to fool. Maybe you're trying to fool, the average skank and foul numpty dipshit that you always talk to. But if people are listening from the outside and taking trig at any moment in their life, they're belly laughing at your dumb ass. Just to let you know. Okay? Thanks.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, smashing the PayPal link, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.